Hey guys, before I get this video started, I wanted to say because that new movie that just came out, the Scary Stories Tell in the Dark. I decided to read from my Scary Stories Treasury, which is all the stories in one book. So if you like it, like and subscribe. You're into it. When it got hot in the valley, Thomas and Alfred drove their cows up to a cool green pasture in the mountains to graze. Usually they stayed there with the cows for 2 months. Then they brought them down to the valley again. The work was easy enough, but it was boring. All day the two men tended their cows. At night they went back to the tiny hut where they lived. They ate supper and worked in the garden and went to sleep. It was always the same. Then Thomas had an idea that changed everything. Let's make a doll the size of a man. He said it would be fun to make. We could put it out in the garden to scare away the birds. It should look like Harold, Alfred said. Harold was a farmer. Harold was a farmer they both hated. They made the doll out of old sacks stuffed with straw. They gave it a pointy nose like Harold's and tiny eyes like his. Then they added dark hair and a twisted frown. Of course, they also gave it Harold's name. Each morning, on their way to the pasture, they tied Harold to a pole in the garden to scare away the birds. Each night they brought him inside so that he wouldn't get ruined by it if it rained. When they were feeling playful, they would talk to him. One of them might say, "How are the vegetables growing today, Harold?" Then the other, making believe he was Harold, would answer in a crazy voice, "Very slowly." They both would laugh, but not Harold. Whenever something went wrong, they took it out on Harold. They would curse at him, even kick at him or punch him. Sometimes one of them would take the food they were eating, which they both were sick of, and smear it on the doll's face. "Would you like that? How do you like the stew? That stew, Harold?" He would ask. "Well, you'd better eat it, or else." Then the two men would howl with laughter. One night, after Thomas had wiped Harold's face with food, Harold grunted. "Did you hear that?" Alfred asked. "It was Harold," Thomas said. "I was watching him when it happened. I can't believe it." "How could he grunt?" Alfred asked. "He's just a sack of straw. It's not possible." "Let's throw him in the fire," said Thomas, "and that will be that." "Let's not do anything stupid," said Alfred. "We won't know what's going on. When we move the cows down, we'll leave him behind. For now, let's just keep an eye on him." So they left Harold sitting in the corner of the hut. They didn't talk to him or take him outside anymore. Now and then the dog grunted, but that was all. After a few days, they decided there was nothing to be afraid of. Maybe a mouse or some insects gotten inside Harold and were making those noises. So Thomas and Alfred went back to their old ways. Each morning they would put Harold up in the morning. Each night they brought him back into the hut. When they felt playful, they'd joke with him. When they felt mean, they treated him as badly as ever. One night, Alfred noticed something that frightened him. "Harold is growing," he said. "I was thinking the same thing," Thomas said. "Maybe it's just our imagination," Alfred replied. We've been up here on this mountain too long. Next morning, they're eating. Harold stood up and walked out of the hut. He climbed up on the roof and trotted back and forth like a horse on its hind legs. All day and all night, he trotted like that. In the morning, Harold climbed down and stood in the far corner of the pasture. They had no idea what he would do next. They were afraid. They decided to take the cows down in the valley that same day. When they left, Harold was nowhere in sight. They felt as if they had escaped a great danger and began joking and singing. But then they had gone only a mile or two. They realized they had forgotten to bring the milking stools. Neither wanted to go back for them, but the stools would cost a lot to replace. There really is nothing to be afraid of, they told one another. After all, what could a doll do? They drew straws to see which one would go back. It was Thomas. "I'll catch up with you," he said, and Alfred walked on toward the alley. When Alfred came to a rise in the path, he looked back for Thomas. He did not see him anywhere. But he did see Harold. The doll was on the roof of the hut again. Alfred watched Harold kneel and stretch out bloody, dry skin to dry in the sun. Lucy Morgan was an artist. She had spent a week painting in a small country town and decided that the next day she would move on. She would go to a village called Kingston. But that night Lucy Morgan had a strange dream. She dreamed that she was walking up a dark carved staircase and entered a bedroom. It was an ordinary room except for two things. The carpet was made up of large squares that looked like trapdoors, and each of the windows was fastened shut with big nails that stuck up out of the wood. In her dream, Lucy Morgan went to sleep in that bedroom. During night, a woman with a pale face and black eyes, long black hair, came into the room. She leaned over the bed and whispered, "This is a needful place. Flee while you can." When the woman touched her arm to hurry her along, Lucy Morgan awakened from her dream with a shriek. She lay awake the rest of the night, trembling. In the morning, she told her landlady that she had decided not to go to Kingston after all. "I can't tell you why," she said, "but I just can't bring myself to go there." "Then why don't you go to Dorset?" the lady said. "It's a pretty town and it isn't too far." So Lucy Morgan went to Dorset. Someone told her she could find a room in a house at the top of a hill. It was a pleasant-looking house, and the landlady there, a plump, motherly woman, was as nice as could be. "Let's look at the room," she said. "I think you'll like it." They walked up a dark, carved staircase, like the one in Lucy's dream. In these old houses, the staircases are all the same, Lucy thought. But when the landlady opened the door to the bedroom, it was the room of the dream. The same carpet that looked like trapdoors, and the same windows fastened with big nails. "This is just a coincidence," she told herself. "How do you like it?" the landlady asked. "Not sure," she said. "Take your time," the landlady said. "I'll bring you up some tea. What do you think about it?" Lucy sat on the bed at the trapdoors and the big nails. Soon there was a knock on the door. "It's the landlady." "Tea," she thought. But it wasn't the landlady. It was a woman with pale face and the black eyes, long like hair, Lucy Morgan grabbed her things and fled.